Imagine a Formula One season where the most intense battle isn't between rival teams, but within the same garage. A season where one of the most iconic teams in motorsport rises from years of rebuilding to dominate the grid, yet can't pick a clear Formula One driver. That's the story of McLaren in 2025. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are locked in a title fight so closely matched that a single misstep, one error on the first lap, can determine the outcome of an entire Grand Prix. This isn't just about speed anymore. It's about split-second decisions, tire strategy, and psychological warfare between teammates. And it's redefining what modern F1 domination looks like. Oscar Piastri just delivered an absolutely clinical victory at Spa-Francorchamps, snatching the win at the Belgian Grand Prix and securing yet another 1-2 finish for McLaren, their 10th win of the 2025 season. This latest result continues a remarkable trend. 6 races this year have ended in a McLaren 1-2, and the last 3 consecutive Grand Prix, starting from Austria, have seen both Piastri and Norris on the podium's top 2 steps. From a championship standpoint, things remain incredibly tense. Oscar's win gives him a 16-point lead over Lando, which sounds solid on paper, but in reality it's a fragile advantage. In a season where one retirement or mechanical issue can flip the script entirely, that gap is almost negligible. In contrast, the Constructors Championship is essentially a foregone conclusion. McLaren's performance edge is so dominant that Ferrari, their closest rival, trails them by more than half in points. Barring catastrophe, McLaren are now all but assured to seal both titles this year. The only real suspense left is whose name will be engraved on that driver's championship trophy. What's fascinating is how fine the margins have been in deciding these races. Just like at Silverstone, where Piastri lost out due to a time penalty, this Grand Prix at Spa was once again defined by a very minor but costly mistake. Throughout the weekend, both drivers looked remarkably well matched. Their pace was practically identical and there was no clear frontrunner based on raw performance alone. Oscar started the weekend strong, smashing the lap record in the sprint qualifying. Lando, on the other hand, pulled out a blinder in Saturday's session and secured pole for the main race. Come race day, Norris had the advantage of controlling the rolling start. That should have allowed him to dictate the early tempo, especially in Sector 1 where overtaking is tough. Yet he made a crucial miscalculation. He launched a bit too early and, more significantly, he covered the inside line into Turn 1 far too aggressively. That compromised his exit and momentum up the hill. Piastri, ever opportunistic, recognized the opening and made his move on the Kemmel straight. He passed Lando with precision, taking the lead before Sector 1 had even concluded. That single maneuver on lap 1 essentially locked in the result. Yes, Lando's slower pit stop and a few driving errors while chasing down Oscar added some drama. But the truth is, those didn't fundamentally alter the outcome. Even if Lando had closed the gap in the final laps, passing Piastri would have been an entirely different challenge. Oscar was nursing worn medium tires, yet he still set strong lap times and showed no signs of dropping pace. Back to McLaren and the tension bubbling beneath the surface. Who really has the momentum right now? Oscar or Lando? Every race seems to swing on the tiniest detail. In Austria, Piastri had just a single lap to challenge Norris and couldn't make the move. That was the ballgame. Each weekend, the story changes based on who blinks first, and that inconsistency is fueling a louder and louder conversation online. Would someone like Max Verstappen be making the same mistakes? Many argue no, and suggest that the McLaren would look even more dominant with Max behind the wheel. In fact, some fans believe the Lando vs. Oscar championship duel is less exciting than Max's unstoppable dominance over the past few years. But that line of thinking ignores just how dominant McLaren already is. With 10 wins in 13 races, and potentially 18 victories on the horizon, the numbers speak for themselves. Even the races they didn't win came down to special circumstances. In Japan, qualifying issues opened the door for Max to capitalize. In Imola, it was one of Verstappen's finest opening laps that stole the lead from Oscar, who started on pole. In Canada, Norris's error took both McLarens out of contention. Though to be fair, Mercedes had genuine pace that weekend, with Russell winning and young Kimi Antonelli scoring his first career podium. So while there have been blunders, let's not pretend McLaren has fumbled away the season. The perception that they're leaving results on the table is exaggerated. Comparing Max's dominance at Red Bull in 2023 to McLaren's current era is misleading because the environments are worlds apart. Let's be real. Max Verstappen is F1's gold standard. If you drop him into nearly any competitive car, he's going to win. That's not a slight against Lando or Oscar. It's just acknowledging Max's talent. But even so, expecting him to instantly click with McLaren's unique setup isn't guaranteed. We've seen top drivers like Sainz and Hamilton struggle when switching teams. Driving style compatibility still matters, even for the best. More importantly, the team dynamics are night and day. Red Bull is unapologetically built around Verstappen. From Christian Horner to Helmut Marko to Jos Verstappen, the entire ecosystem revolves around Max. That creates a stable, pressure-free environment where Max thrives. McLaren, under Zak Brown, is structured differently. Brown has deliberately built a team with two elite drivers to maximize constructor points and internal competition. And that's exactly what it's doing, while also creating an environment ripe for mental strain and razor-thin margin. Unlike Red Bull's top-down hierarchy, McLaren is trying to maintain balance between Oscar and Lando. Neither driver has overwhelming influence. Neither has the team built solely around them, and that equal footing creates tension. It's not open warfare, but it is an intense, silent duel. Even the fans are paranoid. Social media now dissects Zak Brown's body language depending on which driver wins. That's how finely balanced this team rivalry is. If you're looking for a comparable situation, think back to Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. That pairing had fireworks on and off the track. Toto Wolff couldn't keep the peace because their friendship turned sour, poisoning the team. Zak Brown and Andrea Stella are trying to avoid that fate. They're playing the long game, encouraging healthy competition while keeping things harmonious behind the scenes. So far, it's working. Oscar and Lando, to their credit, seem to have bought in. Even their tangle in Canada didn't escalate. Lando owned the mistake and tensions were quickly diffused. No drama, no finger pointing. But this civility, while admirable, has led some to call the title fight boring. That's a little harsh, but the lack of off-track needle compared to past rivalries does make this season feel cooler, not dull. That's by design. McLaren is trying to build a sustainable winning machine, not a soap opera. They don't want a repeat of Hamilton versus Rosberg. They want longevity. And ironically, that mature structure may cost them some headlines, but it's likely to win them more titles in the long run. And then there's the car itself. These 2025 machines are astonishingly fast. We're seeing lap records fall, like at Spa. But all that extra downforce brings heavy turbulence. Dirty air is back in a big way. That makes close racing harder, especially between teammates in equal machinery. The lead car has a big advantage. In fact, more often than not this year, the driver who leads after lap 1 ends up winning. Sound familiar? It's the same pattern we saw at the end of the last regulation cycle in 2021. The takeaway? We're lucky to even have a title battle this season. Whether it's Norris or Piastri who lifts the trophy in Abu Dhabi, the winner will be well-deserved. And for McLaren, after years of mediocrity and missteps, the return to the top has been nothing short of extraordinary. This isn't just a comeback, it's a full-blown resurgence. Even if Oscar and Lando aren't the undisputed two best drivers in the sport, they're doing exactly what fans hoped for, delivering an unpredictable, emotionally charged, and genuinely competitive title fight in the fastest car on the grid. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps keep this channel going, and I'll catch you in the next one.